Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. All right, we're almost ready to get started. Do me a favor, invite somebody to share. Of course, I got a new device, so we're doing things a little bit different. But invite somebody to share. All right, we're almost ready to get started. Do me a favor, invite somebody to share. Of course, I got a new device, so we're doing things a little bit different. But all right, that's what I was waiting on. So I wanted to make sure I didn't have an echo because I don't have my headphones on right now. I've got to get this off my chest. Of course, the election today was the last day, the only day. Today was voting day, so the election has passed. I'm gonna send a shout out in the morning to different people that won. I do want to say congratulations to Rhonda Peoples Waters. I'm sorry, Angie Nixon. Congratulations to her as well. But over the past couple of weeks, me and my bro have really been, y'all know him as Comedian A Train, just been shelving some different ideas, some different things, how I think, how he think, the process of thought. He's challenged me in some areas, and there are a lot of things that he said that a lot of the stuff I totally agree with. When I say totally agree, a lot of the stuff I'm still processing. Tanya Thomas, good evening. Erica Austin, good evening. Kim K. Durham Campbell, what's up? Y'all do me a favor, invite somebody to share. So you have, and this is our topic tonight, you have what I call thinkers and stinkers. I'm going to say it again, thinkers and thinkers. And again, most of this conversation piece that I'm having tonight, I decided to get on because I took a nap. Different pieces of this come from this conversation that Train and I have been having. It wasn't on any particular topic, just a host of things that we discuss like we normally do. So you have thinkers and then you have stinkers. Thinkers. I want to talk about those people first because our title tonight is Thinking versus Stinking. Thinkers are people that are able to properly process and think things through. But they think things through to the point they get you. Now, everybody thinks, even the people that we say, you're just not thinking. No, they're thinking, but more often than not, they're thinking at the level and at the capacity of their ability. And I think sometimes we want people to expand their thought process. We want them to expand their ability to digest information. And they are thinking at their level and at their capacity. And oftentimes you're irritated, we are irritated because they're not thinking on our level. Edith Hodges, good evening. So, you have thinkers, people that are able to properly process what you say. And before you can get it out, most times they've already met you with your destination as it relates to the conversation. Then you have stinkers. Stinkers are people, they just can't think on your level. I don't care how you put it. I don't care how you dress it. They do not have the capacity to be able to think on your level. And as a result of that, they can't comprehend what you're saying. Akita Minor, you owe me something. Good evening. Yolanda Brooks, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Do me a favor, invite somebody to share. So Andrea Plowden, I love you and Jimmy's show. Everybody make sure you follow Andrea Plowden. Her and her husband have a great show. What happens a lot of times in relationship, and I call it thinking versus stinking. but it's really being able to understand each other on each other's level. What happens in most relationships is that we're frustrated because you're with someone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be husband and wife. It could be sister and brother. It could be friendships. You become frustrated that the person you're with doesn't have the ability to process on your level, and they don't have that level or that capacity of thinking that you have. So they miss a whole lot of stuff while you're talking. And over time, you might be leaning in it at first. You may even be patient at first. As time go by, your patience is going to run out, because connected, believe it or not, connected to your understanding is also your peace. There's even a scripture that says the peace that passes all understanding, that's godly peace. But when a person understands you, there's a level of peace that comes with that understanding. Now, attached to misunderstanding is frustration and grief. We literally grieve when we're misunderstood. Cassandra Williams Davies. Where's Butch? So we grieve, and we're frustrated, we're irritated, we're agitated when we are misunderstood. Why is that? Here's why. Because wherever there is clarity, there's also peace. There's no clarity if we aren't clear. And so many times we enter into relationships, we enter into covenants with people, and our ability to understand, comprehend, and articulate exceeds their ability to understand. So you're talking at a level that they don't have the capacity to understand. So now you're frustrated and challenged at how you can say what you need to say, but you need to say it a different way where they can understand. Mentally, I shut down when I meet those type people. I never forget, I was in a relationship one time, and being in that relationship, it taught me so much about myself. I thought I was a pretty patient guy. I found out I'm only patient when I feel I'm understood. You catch that? There's so many things that are tied to understanding that we really don't take the time to process and think about, because processing for us and thinking for us comes automatically. But when you're in a situation where they don't understand you, you are communicating with them and they don't understand. For so long, we've heard that the key to relationships is communication. And I don't think you're incorrect, but I do believe you're incomplete. It's not just communication. It's understanding, because we communicate all the time. Even in silence, we're communicating. Even in silence, we're communicating. But our ability to understand has to measure or meet who we're communicating to. Kimberly, what's up, cuz? Hey, Melvin, come on, bro. So it's imperative for the life of you, when we're speaking about your peace, that you enter into relations on every level with people that get you, that understand you, so you don't have to spend and exert unnecessary energy always explaining you, who you are, what you meant, what you feel, because there's an interference between what you say and what they hear. So I was looking at an interview. The tragedy about being a thinker is that you're not just listening and digesting what a person is saying. You're also hearing what they didn't say. I was telling you all about a relationship that I was in with a sweet person, beautiful person. But our understanding was on two different levels. And a lot of times, even with our children, we want them to be attorneys. We want them to be doctors. We want them to do something. And most times, them kids don't have the capacity to retain the information that it takes to be a doctor, an attorney. And they've not gone through the processes of expansion as it relates to the mind. Scientifically, it's been proven we only use 10% of our brain. If you're extremely brilliant, 15. So what is going on with the other 85 to 90% of your brain that God gave you? Why aren't we tapping into those parts of our mind, that part of our brain? Let me tell you why. We stop learning. Many of us are enemy to new. We're uncomfortable with change. And the way that you tap into the 85 to 90% is you have to constantly be learning something different every day. Many of us, when we got out of school, we ceased to learn anymore. So it limits our capacity of understanding because we've not gone further in our learning ability. We're not open. We're not receptive to receiving anything new. Our inability to receive anything new keeps us mentally, psychologically at the same level that we've always been. And we can never appreciate anyone that challenges us to go further. I kid you all not. I had a young lady tell me one time, she said, "Ooh, I like your radio show, but sometimes y'all go too deep, so I have to turn it off." Girl, what? We go too deep, so you turn it off? No, that is the time you need to keep it on, because whenever there is something that causes you to think beyond what you are accustomed to thinking about, whenever there's information that challenges you to absorb more than what you are accustomed to, it's that information that is sent to help expand you and tap into the part of your brain that is not used to being used. There's nothing to me more sickening than ignorance, because we're in a generation of information. We have the world at our fingertips. We can Google anything that we want to learn. We have more privileges than ever before in history, and we use less resources than we ever have as it relates to learning. Most people associate learning to school, to college, and they leave it there. No. Every day is school. Every day is college. I was once told, D. McWilliams, what up, girl? I was once told by one of my employers, Pickett, every meeting, every conversation is an interview. So you've got to stay prepared. Well, how do you stay prepared? You continue to expand. Every difficult situation that you get into, every circumstance that you're faced with is an opportunity for you to gain the ability to think beyond where you are. So you have people who apply these principles and they continue to learn, they continue to grow, and they continue to expand. Then you have people who just will not process what you're saying. They don't want to learn anymore. That's just too much. I'm good. You deep. No, it's not that I'm deep. You're shallow. And your inability to expand as it relates to information speaks to how shallow you are, and it hinders you from growth. even when it comes to faith and what we believe and religion and God, you do know, or I think you should know there's a difference between your perception of God and the God of your perception. How you perceive God has everything to do with what you've been exposed to, what you've learned, who you've been around, who you've learned under. All of those things goes into how you perceive God. But no matter how you perceive him, he's much bigger than your perception. So your perception of him does not define him. It defines him for you. This is the beauty of the grace of God. It's so big, it's so vast, magnificent, that he gives us the ability to define him as we see him. That's why there's a big argument in the church about this and about that. It's because God has given us ability to think freely and learn freely. And your level of learning has more to do with your level of exposure and your ability to expand. So to the person that expands more, they're going to get more, not because God is playing favorites, but it's because of their inability to do the work to expand their level of belief. And in expanding that level of belief, you're able to contain more. This is why you can never get to a place where you feel you've arrived. You got to always be learning and growing. I will listen to, I'm a student. Like, I don't believe I've arrived. As much as I've learned, and the more I learn, and I deal with what I've learned past, what I'm learning present, the more I know, the less I feel I know. But I'm in a place now where I know more than I've ever known. The more I learn, the more I feel it's the less I know, but I'm in a place where I know more than I've ever known. It's this ongoing progressive process of learning. And the moment you settle for what you believe you know and you cease to challenge it, you will stop expanding and you won't have the capacity to believe further than where you are. How you think will define your friends. So I've been blessed. I have my friends are my family, and my family are my friends. I have great friends, and we have great dialogue. But I have different levels of friends. There's some friends when it comes to maybe it's something that I believe God is dealing with me about. I go to those friends that can understand that lingo and that language. Because I have friends who are atheists. I have friends who we don't share. There's no identity in our belief system. I have friends on different level in various places, male and female. And as a result of that, based on what I'm talking about, where I need help, sometimes I don't need help. I just need a sounding board. If I get a new idea, I'm going to spend some time thinking on that idea, absorbing the idea, writing it down. That's my time. You know, when I'm writing that idea, when it's fresh and I'm writing it down and I'm praying over it and I'm trying to process it, digest the idea that I believe has been downloaded to me, I don't need nobody in that stage of the process. I don't. When I start to expand, I need to get more information. Then I begin to reach out in different places. But if it's an idea that I'm not sure about, then I need to bounce that off of someone. But in order for me to bounce it off someone, that someone has to be more knowledgeable We can't think alike. If we think alike, I just bounce it off myself and be done with it. So you have to appreciate those that challenge us in our thinking. Thinkers are inventors and creators because there is no ceiling to their thoughts. What happens with a lot of thinkers? When you surround yourself with what I call pigeon brain, stinking thinkers. When a thinker surrounds themselves with stinkers, you begin to dumb your thoughts down, and it kills that level of creativity that helped you generate the thought in the first place. You have to be around like-minded individuals. Show me your friends. I will show you where you're going. I'll show you where you're going. Show me your friends. I'll show you where you're going. Show me who you're in covenant with, and I can tell you how you're living. Why? I have friends that would challenge me in scripture. I have friends, very few times would I ask a question from a place of ignorance. It's few and far between. Normally, when I ask the question, I already have my answer, and I need to run it by my friends that I trust to see their point of view. Because the way that I expand in knowledge, the way that I grow psychologically, and the way that I tap into that 85 to 90% of my brain that is not being used, is I have to have somebody else's opinion to bounce my idea off. This is one of the problems that I have with people of faith who believe that when you come into the faith or having faith, suggests that you won't have any problems. It's not till you start to believe that the problems start. Because there has to be opposition if there's going to be belief. If you don't have opposition where you're believing, that's really not believing, because there has to be something opposing you in order to believe beyond. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people are losing their sense of creativity, their capacity of thought, and they are losing thinking on a higher level because they have gone into covenant with people who do not think on their level. The worst thing that you're going to be able to do in life, one of the worst things you're going to do in life, one of the worst things you're going to do in life is hook up with people who don't have the capacity to understand you. It's not that they don't want to. They can't reach that far. They are lower level thinkers. You need people that operate high in thought. How do you get to the place? Because it's attainable for everybody, but there is a discipline and there is a work ethic that you have to develop in order to go higher. Learning something new every day is only one way to get there. The other thing is you need to read. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. Now, here recently, Pickett has received his crown of fineness once again. I've lost 17 pounds. Now, when I go around everybody who's the same size they were when I started losing weight, of course, I look down at them. I'm very condescending, and I remind them how fat they are. And most of them, my friend, like Francis A-Train, is losing. He's losing at the plate level. I told him the other night, you shouldn't be satisfied with what's up under your chest. What is that thing growing under your chest, son? Huh? That hinders you from being able to reach your toes. So I've been exercising. I've been working out. You probably can't tell how cut I am in this shirt. Oh, but Pickett is on his game. You understand me? Yes, yes, yes. Pickett is on his game, and I'm getting bigger. My shoulders are broad. Well, one of the things that I have to do in order to gain strength, more muscle, more mass, is that I have to get there's a heavier weight that I'm working against my weight that causes me to become weightier. You don't build muscle mass lifting something less than. Now, if you're trying to get cut, it's not about the weight. It's about precision. It's about consistency. It's about discipline if you're trying to get cut. But when you're building muscle mass, it is about the weight. And it's the same thing with our mind. When your mind does not have anything to weigh against, it will not become weightier. It will not expand, and you'll never develop a higher capacity of learning or being able to articulate. Articulation in some cases comes through a practice. I don't think it's anything worse when I see my people on TV on the main stage. And it's almost as if we have an art against the English language. Splitting verbs. We don't understand subject-verb agreement. This and that. Well, that may be good at the crab ball, but on the main stage, I need you to practice. You go in an interview and have all these fragmented run-on sentences. You don't understand the English language. There are rules to this language. I before E, except after C, when sounding like A. You got to go to school. You got to learn. And I think it's a terrible thing when I turn on the TV and I hear the leaders of our communities, and they can't articulate. Over there, this, that. Okay, we're at the crib chilling. I split a few verbs. But on the main stage, you shouldn't sound like you're sitting on the back porch. It's even worse when you go to church and you're trying to focus on what the preacher is saying, but you can't tap in because listen, it's important. How you sound is important. You ought to get a tape recorder and record yourself. You know, I can tell when I've been around the wrong people. Because everything becomes this, that. Train, I was just talking about you. But if you're going to grow in knowledge, you need to have people around you that can challenge how you think, or at the very minimum, introduce a thought that is not on your radar and cause you to embrace something that maybe is new to you, or even challenge where you are. Stinking thinking makes me itch. And there are a couple of things that are associated with people who lack the mental capacity to learn on a broader scale There are things that are associated. You've never heard an articulate dummy. I'll wait. You've never heard an articulate dummy. But you hear a lot of people that split verbs. They fall in that dummy cat. Some of them, not all of them. Not all of them. But you've never heard someone who's polished and poised say something dumb. Even if you don't agree, you would have to agree they can articulate. Like Candace Owens. She's got to be the silliest I've ever met. But she's very articulate. Her process of thinking, I don't know if she's paid. I don't know if this is an act. I don't know if she used this ideology to become popular. I don't know what the motive is attached to her level of thinking, but all of us have to agree the little black heifer can't articulate. She can explain her point. Now, it may not make sense to us. So there are certain things that are automatically attached to people who refuse to go beyond the norm, who refuse to go beyond average. There's a discipline connected to people who are able to think higher. Yeah. You can see it in their work ethic. Lazy people, they're not thinkers. There's a small percentage of people that are lazy who still can think beyond, and that beyond that bar can go, it can go extremely high. Because laziness is not what you're not doing. Laziness is a state of mind. If you have the capacity to think beyond 12th grade and you're not tapping into a higher level of understanding beyond 12th grade, you're minimizing your thinking, and eventually your thinking will begin to stink. And it's something to be said about nothingness. It's like, that's what you came up with. Maybe I'm not human because your brain brought you that. Your brain matter. That's what you were thinking about. That's how you see that. And I'm not demonizing ignorance. I'm demonizing ignorance. All of us are ignorant. Ignorance just literally means lacking knowledge of. There's something that all of us don't know. But then there's a discipline found in people who are serious about what they do. They're striving to be better, striving to grow and get more. Normally, those people are able to think at a higher level because in order to think higher, you've got to think higher. It's so simple, but it's not for some people. It's just not. I was looking at this election and some of the candidates. I'm just spooked. I was looking at some of these interviews and just like, you know, it's bad, and I hate to do this, but I got to do this. You know, when you have a president who can't complete a sentence. I've heard kids in first grade articulate better than this guy. I mean, everything is. They asked him about a hurricane. It was a hurricane tornado, something that It touched down in one of the islands, did a lot of damage. And they asked him, well, what do you say about the hurricane that hit, I believe it was Puerto Rico? He said, well, what I can tell you is that it was very wet. What? This is the most revered, the highest office in the world. Like it or not, because America is still the strongest nation on the planet. It's not because, well, it's two reasons: allies and nukes. Okay, and this is the leader of the free world, and he says it was very wet. That's lower level thinking. Something's wrong with the processing of his mind, the medulla. Something's not. He ain't wired right. They asked him about. Did you rape that girl? His answer was, she's not my type. I mean, if you accuse me of rape, it's not in me. You're going to see it all on me. No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't rape her. She's not my type. Listen, you need to be influenced and around people that expand your way of thinking, people that causes you to see the same thing you've always seen in a different way, a different light, or they have the ability to introduce a new idea. There are people who have been thinking low for so long. If you say something beyond their ability to process, they shut down. Yeah. I shut down every time I hear 45. I can't watch him in a press conference. Not unless I want to laugh. Like, you can't even be human. Okay, so let me bring it to this way. I'm gonna bring it to the way of a story. Y'all watch Power or used to watch Power? Well, when I wasn't in church, sometimes I was changing the channels, and sometimes it would come on because I was changing the channel. But there's a scene. It's probably the funniest to me. Okay, where Ghost goes into Lorenz Tate's office. Ghost needs money, and he asks Lorenz Tate for $1 million, and I'll pay you back Friday. He asked for $1 million like it's $5 because to him $1 million wasn't nothing. To Lorenz Tate, it was everything. So Ghost goes in. He's like, hey, so Lorenz, let me I'll pay you back Friday. Let me get $1 million and I'll pay you back Friday. Yeah, I'll pay you back. Lorenz Tate is looking at him like, and he says these words, nigga, what? Listen, when I hear y'all president talk, I'm honestly in my head, nigga, what? And I know that's not a good word to use, but what are we doing? What's happening here? Cassandra, power was your show because you're carnal. And the Bible speaks very eloquently that to be carnal-minded is death. But it's like listening to him talk is like walking through the episode of The Twilight Zone. What are you saying? And there are people like that. I looked at an interview for a couple of minutes. It was, and this person was quoting scriptures. They were saying some things. the scriptures that they were quoting had nothing to do with what they were saying. They were trying to tie it together. It was a hot mess. And it just confuses me. God couldn't have made you. We're not the same. We're not the same. So, moral of the story, thinking versus stinking. Thinkers have the ability to always stay in a posture of learning. But stinkers, they cease from learning. And some things they're just not going to be able to grab. They speak in oxymorons. Like, I want to go further, but I want to stay here. Well, you can't go further unless you have to leave. Well, no, I mean, I can go and then I come back. My uncle used to tell my cousin. He say, "See, son, you're smart, but you're yet dumb." Man, you better keep people around you where when you hear them speak, you can appreciate their thought process and their ability to be able to process at a level where you appreciate what they're saying. If your friends don't challenge you to be better, become better, if they don't motivate you to do better, you're hanging out with the wrong people. Now, it's past my bedtime. Y'all have any questions, any comments? The only power I like, Cassandra, is Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost power. Yeah. Do I have a witness? Woo. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. Woo. I can do that anytime. I pull on that anytime. Y'all have any questions, statements? Thank y'all for joining in with me tonight. I'm gonna play this song here. I feel churchy, so I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this song, and then I'm gonna be out of your hair. Thanks for jumping on with me tonight, y'all. Straight up. Yay! Let me see if I can get it. I'm gonna go out with a bang. Y'all have any questions for me? Make sure you tune in tomorrow at coffee time. I believe I'm going to be on tomorrow. Hey, that's a little church that we do every now and then. But, stay around people, man, that's going to challenge you to be greater and go better and do better. And I appreciate you all for joining me this evening for this special edition of Coffee Time. I want to thank my sponsors, A Taste of Miami, Cassandra and Melvin Davies, Cassandra and Butch. I want to thank Crazy Beans Coffee. And that's the best coffee on the planet. Oh, there it is. I didn't finish it. And I want to thank B4LYFE Coaching Enterprise. So let me tell you all about B4LYFE Coaching Enterprise. B4LYFE Coaching Enterprise, they've coached me. They do financial coaching. They do life coaching. B4LYFE Coaching Enterprise. They have product. You can go to their website. I believe it's b4life.com. Excellent group of people. I've been working with them 4 years. I've helped them and they've helped me. Again, you got to get out of your tent and you've got to expose yourself in order to expand yourself. If you want expansion, expansion comes through exposure. The more exposed you are, the more places you visit. Get out your circle, man, and do something different. Do something new. Take a different route home. Yeah, I said this way and I'm out of here. India Reid wrote a song, and the lyrics to the song is the only thing constant in the world is change. If you're not a student of change, you are not expanding. Change requires you to think differently, move differently, and become more than what you were. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to my sponsors. I love you guys. You all have a blessed night. And always remember to think higher. Speak life. Peace out.